Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Inside Movies Galore. I'm your host, David Streggy, and here I have another few reviews for you from a director from Colorado who has his own way of filmmaking, and many of his films are definitely of a low budget. So let me get started here. So the first film that Dakota Bailey has directed is an anthology called My Master Satan, Three Tales of Drug-Fueled Vengeance. So if you like death metal, Satan, and drug infused with murder in an 80% SOV, then RA Productions director Dakota Bailey is your man. So we are given an introduction in the beginning of this anthology by Satan, supposedly himself, of these three tales of men who are rotting forever in hell for their deeds. So in the first tale, which is called Satan's Coming for You, character by the name of Bubba blatantly gives his buddy Alistair, who is played by Bailey, a call for help, a call to help him dig up his not too recently murdered wife by him, which then, on going on an acid trip, decides to go murder the man who fucked his wife, and for a moment chat with the fiery man himself, Satan. In Nights of Depravity, which is the second vinaigrette in this anthology tale, Charlie, played by Knapp, calls his friend Alistair to kidnap a dog for ransom and other acts of random murder and pranks of depravity. A security type dude rolling around in a golf cart fends off a drug dealer by the name of Little Blunt. You got to give credit to the names of these characters, as he's dealing dicks, played by Bay, territory, whom orders a hit out on Little Blunt. Shall I mention a blow-up doll in the mix with no humor amongst thieves? In the last tale, which is called My Master Satan, Alistair is once again called to do some nightly peeping Tommen on a new woman in town, along with a few break-ins for goods and murders of the splatter kind, until Dealing Dick decides to perv on Alistair's mom. Things get ugly, as this cat needs to be boxed in, taken care of, and Bubba's back to taking a trip with Alistair to see Satan again. I think that these tales go to show you what kind of things you might do if you were on drugs or part of a drug ring that sold their souls to Satan. None of these characters give a flying fuck about what they do to get ahead, due to the fact that this was almost all filmed on VHS. Almost gives it a black and white kind of feel, kind of a look. So it definitely, this was a Hail Mary ode to Aleister Crowley and Satanist worshippers, but I also feel a remembrance of the days of VHS and the arcade. I think Bubba, played by Marshall, was the strongest character involved, as he was almost romantic, as even though he killed his wife and the dude who cheated on him, he still seemed to love the woman. I also noticed Alistair's voice was always changed, as if he was croaking his voice. The same voice as Satan. Each of these tales follow their own drug infused tales, and in the end, everyone gets their own way of interpretation. It certainly won't be an anthology enjoyed by all, but there are moments of slowness to get what Dakota wanted to the film. But I feel that in a way, this was his own homage to the world of snuff. I recommend this crazy anthology for those to see it. It's definitely nihilistic in its own approach to the kind of drug trafficking that might even be real life, at least where he lives. For others to see, as it is almost its own way has a moral. I'm not saying that it's a masterpiece, but it definitely shouldn't be overlooked in its subterfuge of death metal and death. So enjoy my description of this film. I definitely was entertained by the characters and so on and so forth. So hopefully you enjoyed my description of this film. Like and subscribe to my page. And moving on to his second film, which was also put out in 2016, is called American Scumbags. And here's what it looks like. I was trying to scrounge around to see where my copy was, but as you can see, many of my films are in boxes. It's not that I'm lazy, but many of the films that Dakota Bailey has put together do, in fact, kind of look like this. My Master Satan had a similar look in the pictures. It was just a little different. So American Scumbags was totally in black and white, which was definitely more up my alley. So once again, Denver director Dakota Bailey of RA Productions brings us another view into the underworld of drug dealing with 3 interconnected vinaigrette stories of a sadistic disorder, this time without the character of Satan. In the city of Sundale, a dealer named Lucifer, played by actor Benning, has just been let out of prison, and whom owes money to a kingpin drug lord by the name of Chester, played by actor Epstein, enlisting the help of hitman Johnny, played by Bailey himself, to do his bidding, as Chester fronted a lot of drugs and hasn't come through. A psychopathic, sadistic convict named Billy we find pissing on his mother's and others' graves, hooking fake ball sacks to license plates, and contemplating his life stories. Another character is a drunk vet and a recently released sex predator's viewpoint in the mix. As his second feature, I feel that this film has a much better audience right off. Black and white is definitely in. The punk and emo scene is in, and as is an age of violence. On the other hand, I feel like his character Billy could have his own movie as a drifter and an ex-convict he has that doesn't give a flying fuck attitude. I also noticed the effects of the video has a sliding naturally from scene to scene, not as choppy as his SOV feature previously, but it was VHS. What else can you expect on a VHS kind of recording camera? As for Lucifer, he looked a little paranoid with fleas as he's scratching under pressure. I have to say I enjoyed this feature much better than Dakota's first film, but I actually like both his first. Both. His first was sort of like an anti-film. This second is certainly better acting, much better worked on, storyline-wise. And even though it's just random by piecing together and connecting each characters, this time they each stand alone. Shall I mention the live skinning of a rabbit? There's also a sort of reality to all of this. Even though the characters are fiction, it's quite possible there are characters exactly like this out there. There, there's other things that I could mention, but I'd rather you go see it for yourself. There's definitely not much uh, music intermixed in this film, but there was definitely a punk era feel to American Scumbags. I enjoyed it. I recommend this film just as I did his first film and look forward to his future projects. And I know that this film won't be for anyone, but there it is. There you have it, folks. I will definitely have some more cool reviews for you. Thanks for listening to my descriptions of these films. Like and subscribe to my page if you have not. Definitely check out some of my other reviews. And thanks for listening ahead of time. Appreciate the traffic.